Hello, and today's purpose of the day is I can multiply polynomials. Let's take a look at our first example of multiplying polynomials. I'm going to use the horizontal method and I'm going to multiply a binomial by a trinomial. So when I use the horizontal method, I'm going to write out all of my terms side by side or horizontally. So I'm first going to look at my first term here of 3q, and I'm going to multiply that by everything in the second polynomial, in that trinomial. So I have 3q times the quantity, 9q squared minus 12q plus 4. So now what I'm going to do is distribute and take my 3q times my 9g squared and get 27, or excuse me, q, not g, 27q to the third. Then I'm going to have 3q and multiply that by negative 12q and get negative 36q squared. And then I'm going to take 3q and multiply it by 4 and get 12q. Now I'm going to take my second term in that first binomial and multiply it by my entire second polynomial, or that trinomial there. So what this will look like is I'll add these terms together, and I will have 2 times the quantity 9q squared minus 12q plus 4. And then I'm going to distribute like I did before. And 2 times 9q squared is 18q squared. 2 times negative 12q is negative 24q. And 2 times 4 is 8. And now I've got all of my products lined up, and I'm going to look at what like terms that I have. So if I look here at the q cubed, I only have 1 q cubed, right? It's just 27q cubed. Nothing else goes with it. But now I'm going to go ahead and look at the q squareds, and so I have negative 36q squared and 18q squared. And then lastly, I have 12q and negative 24q. And then I also have just a plain number 8. So I'm going to put together some like terms. My 27q cubed stays as it is, and negative 36q squared and positive 18q squared give me negative 18q squared. 12q minus 24q gives me a negative 12q. And then I just have plus 8, so that just can attach on at the end. So that would be my final answer of multiplying a binomial by a trinomial using the horizontal method. Now let's take a look at multiplying polynomials with the box method. And again, here I have a binomial times a trinomial. So I'm going to go ahead and make my box, but I notice again with the binomial that's 2 terms, trinomial that's 3, so my box will be a 2 by 3 box. So I'm going to make my box, I'm going to do 2 by 3. And now I'll go ahead and write down my binomial, 2h plus 3 on the left-hand side. Then up above, I'll write 2h squared plus 3h plus 4. And now I'm going to put the product of the terms inside the box. So I have here 4h cubed, and then 2h times 3h is 6h squared. 2h times 4 is 8h. 3 times 2h squared is 6h squared. 3 times 3h is 9h. And 3 times 4 is 12. Now I'm going to go ahead and look here at any like terms. And here you'll notice some like terms do line up diagonally. So I have 6h squared and 6h squared. And then I also here have 9h and 8h. So if I write out my final answer here, I have 4h cubed plus 12h squared plus 17h plus 12. And that's my final answer. The box method is really good to use to keep things really organized. And again, if you do line up the degrees and make sure that your box set up correctly, you should have like terms line up together, unless, of course, one of the polynomials is missing a degree. Then sometimes, I know we've spoken about this before, the degrees won't always line up diagonally. We just got to be mindful of the degree. Now let's take a look at a trinomials problem. So a trinomial multiplied by a trinomial. So the method that I'm going to use, but you can feel free to use whatever method you would like, is I'm going to use the box method. So I'm going to make a 3 by 3 box and then set up this problem. So I will label 3n squared plus 2n minus 1 and 2n squared plus n plus 9. And now I'll go ahead and I'll find the product of each of the terms. So 3n squared times 2n squared is 6n to the 4th. 3n squared times n is 3n cubed. 3n squared times 9 is 27n squared. 2n times 2n squared is 4n to the 3rd. And 2n times n is 2n squared. 2n times 9 is 18n. 2n squared times negative 1 is negative 2n squared. N times negative 1 is negative n. And 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. And again, I started with the degree here of both being 2, and then it went 2, 1, degree of 0, 2, 1, degree of 0. So I should have like terms that line up diagonally. So let's take a look at these here. And I do see my like terms line up. And so I see my n cubes line up, I see my n squareds line up, and I see the n's line up. So now if I put together these like terms here, I'm going to scoot this over so I have some more room. I have 6, let's change colors, I have 6n to the 4th, and then 4n cubed and 3n cubed give me plus 7n cubed. And then negative 2n squared and n squared, those two cancel out, but then I have 27n squared, so plus 27n squared. And then negative n plus 18n is plus 17n, and then minus 9. And that would be my final answer. Let's also take a look at the problem right below. And I'm again going to do a 3 by 3 box because I see a trinomial times a trinomial. So I'm going to make a 3 by 3 box and write down my trinomial on the left-hand side and then the top. So 2y cubed plus 3y minus 1. Then a 3y squared minus 5y plus 2. Now, keep in mind, this went from a degree of 3 to 1 to 0, so we're skipping a degree of 2 here. And then we have 2, degree of 2, 1, and 0 with that second polynomial. So let's see what our box method, what happens within this box method, and how we will line up our like terms. So 2y cubed and 3y squared give me 6y to the 5th. 2y cubed times negative 5. Y is negative 10y to the 4th. 2y cubed times 2 gives me a 4y cubed. 3y times 3y squared is 9y cubed. 3y and negative 5y are negative 15y squared. 3y and 2 are 6y. Negative 1 times 3y squared is negative 3y squared. Negative 1 times negative 5y is positive 5y. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So now if I look at my terms diagonally, I see, ooh, that's a 3 and a 4. That doesn't line up. Here's a 2, 2, and a 3. That doesn't line up. But the y's line up. So you just got to be careful on how you match up your terms. So those go together. These would go together. So you just got to be careful when you skip a degree. They don't all line up diagonally. They don't all line up diagonally. Only a few do. So I know it says challenge problem tomorrow, but let's write our final answer below that. So I have a 6y to the 5th, and then minus 10y to the 4th. 9y cubed and 4y cubed give me 13y cubed. Negative 3y squared and negative 15y give me negative 18y squared. And then plus 11y. And a minus 2. And that would be my final answer here for this 3 by 3 or trinomial times trinomial problem using the box method. And be ready for a challenge problem tomorrow. It already is on your notes listed, but we will solve that problem in class. Feel free to take a look at it if you would like. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.